All right, guys, thanks for being here. We are live. Welcome to Tuesday. We talked yesterday in our live stream about um, the verse where Paul's talking to Timothy about we don't have a spirit of fear, and talking about how being timid in our trading and not trading out of fear. And I mentioned yesterday, well, there's the opposite of that. Boy, it's interesting just how much our emotions can just how much emotions are the difference between being a successful trader or not. But anyway, so the opposite of what we talked about yesterday, the timid trader, is the one who is 10 feet tall and bulletproof. And I gotta say, this has been me, not as often as I would like, not because of the have overcome my emotions, but just because in order to be 10 feet tall and bulletproof, you really do need a string of wins. And especially early on, this might not be one that happens to you a lot because this is this is a product of having a string of wins. But have you ever had that situation in your trading where it just seems like everything you touch turns to gold? I mean, everything just seems to be working out, and it can mess with your head. I honestly believe that success, unbridled success, unperspectivized, that's not a word. Uh, the inability to keep success in perspective is probably the most dangerous thing to your trading account that you could ever expose it to. I mean, there being a trader who thinks that you can't lose. Oh my goodness, I have been there before. And this all goes back to one of the reasons I'm talking about these day after day is because I've been there. Right, the story that I tell all the time of the guy who falls in the hole and no one's going to help him until his buddy Bob jumps in the hole, and he's like, "What are you doing, Bob?" Well, now we're both in the hole. And Bob says, "Hey, but I've been in here before. I know the way out." Is that I have been down in that hole before, and that hole is full of just. There's a great. I mean, it's a kids movie, right? It's called what's it called? Inside Out, something like that. No, that's not what it's called. Inside, or the one about it's a Pixar movie about the girl and all of her emotions are anthropomorphically shown inside of her head. Maybe it's called Inside Out, but that is just so true. They just run our trading, and one of the reasons that I think people turn to trading algorithms is they think, well, hey, this would be a way for me to remove my emotions from trading. And it sounds great in theory. The two main problems is it's really hard to get a good algorithm that can replicate human intuition. But the other thing is that you can still interfere with an automated system emotionally. I had a system. All right, so confession time. Boy, do I hate confession time. But anyway, so back when I was day trading, I had a problem with over trading. I would get on a hot streak, and like any gambler, I've never gambled before, but they see them in the movies, right? They get on a hot streak, and they don't know when to stop. So I would have two or three or four day trades wins in a row, and like I've almost got this like madness. Like, where's my next trade? Where's my next? Oh, I've got to find that next trade. Boy, it's understandable how gamblers can get on that binge there. So I said, you know what? I recognize this about myself. Let me write some code. At the time, I knew how to write code for MT4. The world has moved on from MT4, so I don't know how to write code anymore. But I said, let me write some code. Let me write a small program that once I enter a trade, I click a button, and it manages the trade for me. And I even put like a maximum daily cap on my profits. This said, hey, if I've had two losses, it shuts down for the day. If I have three or four wins, whatever it was, it shuts down for the day. If I have more than X percent win per day, I think it was like 1.5%, it shuts down for the day. So this would be great. I'll take all of my failures as an emotional trader and program them into this thing, and it will be my emotional check, my emotional break for me. And that worked well for about 3 or 4 days until the day came when one of my rules was these are day trades. You don't hold a day trade overnight. You don't turn a day trade into a swing trade because your risk management profile is totally different. So this trading algorithm that I had written, it was automatically closed all of my trades at like 3:55. The market closes at 4 o'clock my time. 3:55 in the afternoon. Well, 354 rolls around, and I'm just not ready to accept the loss of these trades that are in drawdown. So I went click, and I turned off the robot. And with one click of a button, all of that work was undone, because once you do it once, you can do it again. But for me, holding a day trade, holding on to hope and just, hanging on when you shouldn't, that is nowhere near as dangerous as the feeling that, man, these last 3 trades have been winners. I'm on a hot streak today, or this week, or this month, or whatever it is. I can't lose. Oh my goodness. Was the worst 3 words. I was gonna put Admiral Akbar here. It's a trap, but I was afraid YouTube would strike me for that. And though that's the worst trap, the worst words you can utter in the English language in trading is "I can't lose." Oh my goodness. It is absolutely. So how do you overcome this? There's, as one would expect, there are a multitude of Bible verses, including the one that I believe we are all remembering incorrectly. If you are in the chat and you can chat, you're not driving. Proverbs says, "Pride goeth before" what? I'm going to circle back to this to see if anybody knows the next sentence. Pride goes before something. And if anybody wants to put it in the chat, I'm going to hope to prove a point. What's it called? The Mandela effect, right? We all think we remember something and we're all remembering it incorrectly. Or maybe it's just me. But if you have the ability to comment right now, put down in the chat, finish that phrase. Pride goes before blank. So how do we overcome how do we overcome that? Is it wisdom? Well, you would think it would be. I remember it. Pride goes before a fall. And maybe I'm just shortening the verse. The actual verse is, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty look before a fall." Now, I'd rather have a fall than destruction, especially in the realm of your trading account. Destruction carries some weight to it. So how do you overcome your inclination to, and maybe it's because I'm old, Paul, that I'm just not remembering it, right? I'm just shortening it in my head. How do you overcome your inclination to not get the big head, as my dad would have said, to not look at your string of successes and think this is never going to end? Here's a tactic that I'm not sure I would recommend, but I was listening to my favorite mindset podcast, and the host was talking to his partner who ran a prop firm or a trading account. And he said one of his traders actually puts a moving average on his return. And once he gets, I forget what he used, 1 standard deviation, 1%, some number, once he gets X above or below his moving average of his annual return, he adjusts his risk, which means once this guy has a series of successes and he has moved 1 standard deviation above what he expected to get, he cuts his risk in half. He pulls back the reins, taps on the brakes, because he knows that losses are just around the corner. One of the great things about back testing with these days is you can click a button and it will take your strategy and it'll back test it. I've got to stop. You move my arm so wide. It'll take your back testing and go over an entire period and tell you what was your maximum number of wins, what was your maximum number of losses. And it gives you a good idea of your win streak, your loss streak. But as cliched as it sounds, especially if you are like me and love football movies, taking it one trade at a time, forgetting everything. Oh my goodness, I'm almost remembering a verse. Paul, not this Paul, but St. Paul said, "This one thing I do, forgetting what's behind me, I press forward to the." Okay, forget that, because I can't remember the rest of the verse. I'll remember it tomorrow. Paul's point is, I have not yet attained, right? I forget what has happened, and I keep pressing on towards the mark. You have to take each trade as if every single trade prior to that was a loss, or take each trade as if you've never traded before. Each individual trade has to be an individual trade. And it is the hardest thing to do, to block out the noise, because you're going to have so much noise in your head, for good or for bad, and they're both bad. Whether you've had a 5-trade losing streak or a 10-trade winning streak, both of those are going to be screaming in your head to do one thing or another, right? The 10-trade losing streak is going to be saying, give up, quit. You're just losing money. The 10-trade winning streak is going to be mortgage the house and dump it into your trading account right now, because this is your one chance to make it big. And honestly, I do think that social media has a bad influence on all of us. Trading is done best when it is slow and steady and boring as all get out. The minute you start to feel excited in your trading, or at least maybe this is for me, the minute I start to feel excited in my trading, I need to get up and take a walk around the block. I need to do something, because you should be able to trade robotically. Not with a trading robot. That's not what I mean. I mean you could, but you need to be able to trade as if every trade is meaningless, emotionally speaking. So I just want you to be aware that it's a catch-22. When you're just starting out, you really do need some wins under your belt to trust your system, to feel like this whole trading thing is real and can be trusted, and you really can do it. You really do need that positive feedback. But at the same time, every single kernel of positive every seed of positive feedback is being planted in the garden of your head of pride that's going to sprout. Now, here's another great thing you can do to head off, because that's what this is rooted. Head off pride in your trading. Keep yourself in perspective. Hey, look, I made $100 yesterday trading the Euro US or trading Tesla. That's great. Somebody else out in this world ran into a burning building and saved a puppy. All right. So, I mean, it's just, keeping yourself in perspective does help a lot. Also, having the experience, either personal or surrounding yourself, I would highly recommend, just as if you were in the midst of a losing streak and you're just like falling apart and need someone to come and buck you up. I would highly recommend, if you are in the midst of a winning streak, find a community of people to talk to. Let them know that, so that people who've been there before can say, hey, that's great. That's fantastic. Enjoy it here in the moment, but just be prepared. Start putting a plan in place for what's going to happen when that winning streak comes to an end, when you start to see losses. When I first started trading my brand new trading account with DarwinX, my very first month, I've been trading a different account. We got all of us US traders got kicked off MT5. It was a whole big thing. And I had a successful run there. And I switched over to this DarwinX account. And my very first month, it was my worst month in the last 8. I've had a successful run since then. But my very first month was minus 4.5%. And it was like, I know what I'm doing. And I've got the mental and emotional experience to weather this. But it was still difficult to go through this shock. But imagine if my first month had been 10%. I would have been, well, maybe that's why God didn't have me have my first month as 10%. I mean, we're all susceptible to pride. It is just so insidious. But the good news is there are a multitude of verses in the Bible that would help us deal with that. But I just want everyone to be aware that success is a fantastic thing in trading, and that is what we are all searching for. But success brings with it its own wheelbarrow full of issues that, if you're not prepared, can derail you. So be prepared. Have a plan in place for what do I do when I have a massive win streak. But better than that, surround yourself with a group of people that care about you as much as you care about them. With that, I'm going to click to the slide that's got I encourage everyone out there to join our trading group at Facebook. You can search for it. Just go to Facebook groups and search for Godly Trading. It's right up here. I can't find it. It's right up there. But anyway, I'm going to put that on here. I'll be back tomorrow. I've got something kind of interesting to talk about tomorrow. But today, I just want to encourage everybody, whether you are being barraged with positive or negative monkeys and emotions in your head, don't try to do this alone. You absolutely can trade by yourself, but you absolutely shouldn't trade by yourself. So find a community, reach out to us if you'd like to join ours. It's absolutely free. Everyone is welcome. And with that, guys, I appreciate you being here, and I will see you all tomorrow.